Welcome to Integration Nation. For Alison Sullivan's Integrative Health Team, I'm Dee Daniels. This week, it's all about nutrition. And as we talk about nutrition, Alison, this is all about what is going in our body and what it's doing to us, not only physically, but also emotionally.
Yeah, nutrition is how we fuel ourselves. So it has a very direct impact on our mental health. And I think it's something that people tend to exclude from their thinking about mental health and wellness, and it's a key component in what we do here.
When you see people regarding their nutrition, I mean, there's so many other pieces to it. That it isn't just generally about, I want to be on a diet, or I was on a diet and it didn't work.
We start from actually what we talked about, I think, when we were introducing this podcast, about the psychosocial spiritual aspect of a person. So this is the physicality, and it has to do with something called bioindividuality. And what that means is that to some extent we are each unique biological beings. So we have to figure out how to fuel ourselves and how to kind of clean out ourselves, if you will, and do the maintenance so that we get the results that we want. I like to think of it like a car engine. You know, you have to put the right kind of gas in your car. If I put diesel fuel in my gasoline engine, it's not going to run well.
Right.
If I don't ever take it in to get a tune-up or to flush filters, then it's going to impact how it runs. And that's how nutrition really powerfully and directly relates to our mental health. If we're eating things that clog us up or inflame us or irritate us, then it's going to impact our body's regulatory systems and our body's circulatory systems, which impact our mood and impact our thinking.
A lot of research has come out as of late regarding, for instance, certain illnesses that are directly related to inflammation in your body. And there are so many of these illnesses that are directly related to inflammation in your body. So to take that, if maybe you're not a regular healthy eater, or you haven't been, and you've just kind of been a little, or you just don't know much about organic or eating, you know, in a better way, in a natural way, to then try to direct yourself to dealing with inflammation in your body or something like that, that can be really daunting. And sometimes that process, it's helpful to have someone to help you sort of map that out.
It certainly is. And we really take that to heart, the way the practice is structured here. And we start to address that in the intake. Our intake forms include a really detailed accounting of nutritional habits, values about food, family history with food, food allergies, food issues. And we also recommend, when clients first come to us, that they go to an integrative primary care physician to get a comprehensive examination and blood work, so we can really start to get data about their body and about the impact of their nutritional habits and understanding and awareness on their body.
A lot of people have never been to see an integrative physician and think, okay, so that's different how? From a regular physician, or what someone would call a regular physician, and then how would you use that in working with a nutritionist or working with your mental health? How would you use all of that information then?
I get that question a lot, and a lot of times when I first refer people to go to an integrative primary care doctor to get this, blood workup and examination, they'll say, well, I went to this urgent care center, or I went to this place and got some blood work done. However, that's not the kind of blood work that an integrative physician will do. And there are several different types of integrative physicians. There's integrative physicians who are still have roots in more conventional training. There are also functional medicine doctors, naturopaths, etc. And I'm not going to go into all of the differences between those today, but for the purposes of this podcast, what matters is that an integrative primary care physician is going to look at minerals, vitamins, hormones. They're going to look at the relationship between those things. They're going to look at the building blocks of the specific hormones in the blood work that they order, and they're going to be able to get a different picture based on that. They're not just going to check one thyroid function and a baseline vitamin D function and say, okay, it seems fine. They're going to go into adrenal function. They're going to go into precursors of other hormones and look at things like your pregnenolone level, which has a direct impact on mood and memory. You're not going to get that in a conventional medical practice. And so that's the information we need to start to put people more in the driver's seat of their body.
We hear it all the time. You are what you eat. Garbage in, garbage out. Our mental health and our physical health is deeply interconnected. Our gut is our second brain. Our gut even contains neurotransmitters like our brain does. Would you like to truly gain insight into this relationship you have with food? With our 12-week Food Mood group, you can find out what the real impact is with food and your mood and your energy levels. I mean, how much freedom could you feel with understanding how to break food addictions? Learn the food myths and facts, and once and for all, learn not to fear fats. Our integrative team at Alison Sullivan and Associates can help you right where you are. With the 12-week Food Mood group, you can learn to develop support and strategies to reach your food goals, to find that true connection between your mind, your body, and your spirit. Alison'sIntegrativeHealth.org. Sign up for the newsletter or call 540-907-0991. 540-907-0991 and ask about the 12-week Food Mood group. A healthy gut likely means a pretty healthy mind. What's amazing too is like how much information that you get. You may have extremely like off the chart levels of something in particular in your body that you never knew was going on in your body that could be causing a lot of the mood issues, or it could be causing some other serious problems. Maybe you're not sleeping at night. Maybe you've got, other physical problems that you haven't, like it's mysterious to you. I've heard so many people saying things like that where they've had mysterious other things happening because of something they never got checked, at a conventional doctor.
Exactly. I've had experiences where clients have come back and said, for instance, that it revealed a level of copper that was problematic and linked to anxiety. I've had people come back and say, oh, well, I have no serotonin. I guess that's why I'm so depressed.
Right.
So it gives really important information so people can start to understand that it's not this overwhelming thing. It's actually can be really easy to start to navigate. And it's also really important, I think, for people to just understand that, at least this is how we practice it here, that any step you take towards a more improved relationship with your nutrition and your body matters. You don't have to get the perfect plan immediately. It's about taking steps towards, just like, what we talked about really with the aromatherapy and in the mindfulness and meditation. It's a process, not an event.
Yeah, that's a big deal. It's about the journey and figuring some things out. One of the things that you've recently done is you've gotten a really cool certification for integrative nutrition.
Yes, I am now certified as an integrative nutrition provider for mental health.
And a lot of words in that title. I like it.
It really is a lot of words. And basically what that boils down to is I took some more classes to figure out how to more comprehensively bring nutrition into therapy. And it's really exciting because there's stuff that people can do that can almost immediately improve their health and wellness. Taking a high quality omega-3, really direct impact on mood. Making sure that their B vitamins are in check. Making sure that they are fueling themselves with the right ratios of proteins, fats, and carbs to really maximize their energy and clarity of thinking. There's just an endless amount of ways that integrative nutrition can improve people's mental health.
Obviously, we all would love an easy fix to everything in the world, but I think once we, maybe in the past, or you know people that have, and you go into this place of you think, well, I've done diets before, I've try to take a pill to fix things before, and they just keep coming back, or I just keep having issues, or I just keep failing at XYZ, whatever the diet you may have tried. Maybe turning in now to something different and really mapping this out. Yes, takes a little time, but so worth it.
I'm really passionate about this in that particular aspect of this because there is no quick fix. If people take pills, they can maybe manage symptoms and manage issues, but that's at least in my training and in my way of thinking, that's not a fix. So fixing anything is a process, first off. And then, secondly, I think this part of the integrative approach to mental health really crystallized for me when I went to a conventional medicine doctor for some skin issues I was having. And the doctor put me on a pretty heavy-duty antibiotic. I didn't know. I was uninformed at the time. This was probably 15, 17 years ago, and kept refilling the antibiotic for a year. It was actually doxycycline, so long story short, I went back to the doctor about a year after and I said, yeah, I don't have any more refills. And I watched the shock. It was like a micro expression on the doctor's face for a minute when the doctor realized that they had me on doxycycline for a year. And what ended up happening was my gut, the balance in my gut, which we know is our second brain,
right,
was wrecked. And I started experiencing a ton of mood stuff, a ton of other physical stuff, a ton of joint stuff, and just got pretty sick. And so that digging myself out of that with nutrition and understanding how to fuel myself in that way has made me really passionate about what that can do for other people.
That's amazing, because so many times we'll get ourselves into a place where we get really sick and something happens, and then it's like, okay, I need to do something. I've got to figure this out.
Yeah, and it sounds overly simplistic, and in some ways it is, but in a lot of ways it's not. This, like the other aspects of integrative mental health, boils down to connection. So, 17 years ago, I was disconnected from my system, my mind-body system, in some pretty significant ways. If I was okay with taking doxycycline for a year without really observing any of the side effects or staying connected enough to really investigate that, I over-relied on that doctor, which, if I'm really honest about it, I needed to be a little more proactive and accountable about what was going on. And so digging myself out of that hole helped me understand, what can be some of the pitfalls, what can be some of the stages of that, and what the immense benefits of that are for mind and body, to figure out, what does my body need, and when does my body feel the best, and how does my thinking help that or become an obstacle to that, and how is my mood impacted by all of that. And then once that gets figured out, then how at least how I show up in my day, is profoundly different because I'm present and I feel good.
I know when someone comes into the practice here, that is a part of the intake process of, what's your relationship with food like,
Yes.
nutrition like. So obviously that's going to be, brought into the mix. When you're trying to change gears or you're trying to change a whole lifestyle of food, that can be really, really hard. So, emotionally hard, and breaking eating habits and building new ones and addictions that we have to sugar and, these big monstrous things that it seems like so many of us can't get away from. Working with someone, having help in that process is a much better way, it seems, to
I think it's a huge benefit, and I think it's what sets this practice apart from others, in that we understand in this way how the pieces fit together, so we can use all of the tools, all of the arms, if you will, of an integrative approach to help people navigate that. So when people come up against an obstacle in reshaping their beliefs about food, we can use mindfulness practices. We can use more conventional aspects of talk therapy. We can use aromatherapy to work through that obstacle so that they become more comfortable in taking the next step, whatever that next step may be. All the while, what the client is learning is that it's the same process over and over. And once they get used to the process and using all of these tools in their toolkit, then it really is what empowers people, because then they start to see, oh, I can do this. It's not that I'm giving them something that they can't do. It's, they're understanding that they actually have the power to do this.
What do you think about diets in general?
How do I want to say this, Dee?
Do we need to bleep it out?
If I really gave my if I gave my uncensored thoughts about that, we would need to bleep the whole thing out.
Yeah.
Diets are toxic. They're just toxic.
They feel set up for failure for everyone from the go.
And they disconnect people from themselves. And I'm all about connection. So diets don't do that. Diets create an adversarial relationship with your body. And I don't see, I really subscribe to the end is inherent in the means. And I don't see how, when you set up an adversarial relationship with your body, that you can get a result that makes you happy. And I will say there's a gray area that about, so if you want to take some popular approaches to eating, like let's say paleo, which I think has a lot of benefit for some people,
right,
whose chemistry is in alignment with that kind of thing. Now, people can distort that,
right,
and turn that into a diet. So some of this really needs to be about definition. If your body functions better in a grain-free environment, then looking at paleo options is a good thing. But if you're just dressing all of that up to lose weight because you feel like your value is a certain number on the scale, then that's not going to work.
Right.
Which again is why a comprehensive integrative approach is important. And that's what people get when they come here, because we can unearth what the motivation is, what's driving this stuff, so people can really find a healthy eating plan for them.
I know for me, one of the things I have taken pieces of, I think that's important, when you're changing your daily habits with nutrition. I've taken pieces of like Whole30, and I've just taken pieces of that and put it into place for me just to see if certain things, if my body would react in a better way. These are the kinds of things you can sort of map out, with people that I think that's so great here, is that, getting in an integrative practice, you can have someone help you along that journey, because that, like you said, it's the bio individuality. Everybody's body is unique. So the paleo is not going to fit everybody. The Whole30 is not going to fit everybody. The gluten-free may not fit everybody. It's really about mapping that out individually.
Yes. And, nothing makes me happier than when a client comes in and they'll say, I was shopping in this store and, I saw this and I remembered that when I eat a bunch of this kind of stuff, I feel really awake and aware and have the energy I need. Nothing makes me happier than when clients can come back and do that, because that tells me, number one, their entire relationship with food has been balanced. So they're seeing food primarily as fuel. And really, we have to be honest and realize that food has many meanings in our culture. And I think that's part of a healthy relationship with food. But at the end of the day, it really is the fuel. So when people, recognize that and come back and share that, and then two, when they become, the drivers of that, of, I know that this is what works for me and I'm going to go do this. And then that's really where it all comes together for me, because that's when people are really connected to themselves and really invested in caring for themselves, which is what, we want here, is just people to understand that the symptoms that they're having, the experiences that they're having aren't accidental. They're not coincidental. They're connected, and there's very specific reasons a lot of times for them.
What about kids? A lot of people struggle with their kids and nutrition, and maybe have realized that their kids are going down a very unhealthy road, and parents want to turn things around and take the reins here and figure things out. That can be super emotional, super hard for kids that struggle with overweight, underweight, a lot of those issues, nutritional issues all around, that can be very, very difficult for kids.
It can be. It can be difficult for the whole family for a lot of reasons. And I know families today are busier than they've ever been. And there is a place for convenience in how we feed ourselves and how we feed our families. I think it needs to be a present convenience, though, an understanding, what we're doing and why, and also looking at ratios of that. So if there's 21 meals in a week and 18 of those are really pure fuel, then my body's going to be able to process, maybe the 3 meals that aren't really ideal fuel for my body, because the ratio is such that my body's going to be able to do what it needs to do. But if the opposite is true, if 18 of the meals aren't fuel and have some degree of a toxic composition for my body, then the 3 healthy fuel meals I eat aren't going to be enough to allow my body to do what it's designed to do. So again, it's not an all or nothing approach. It really is about, understanding and being honest. And I think that, back to that original question about families, what I tell people and what I introduce people to is what culture. What is the culture in your family about food, and for parents to be really honest about that, and then start to make some mindful decisions about that, and enlisting kids in that too can, then meal prep, meal planning, eating meals can become a way of connecting, not disengaging. And we do know when families use food to connect rather than disengage, when they spend time eating meals together, then that does improve everybody's health, especially the kids' health. And it does lower stress levels. So, there's research behind that.
Yeah. And, we have a teenager at home, so we've realized that what we have in the house, he will eat.
That's the bottom line. If you want to get really honest and really accountable,
really down to that works.
Yes. However, it also goes back to, mindfulness and presence and being able to tolerate distress, because to turn these things around, people have to learn how to deal with feeling uncomfortable. and feeling uncomfortable in their bodies because it's going to feel uncomfortable. And so really addressing that through emotional regulation strategies, and whether that's meditation or mindful breathing or both, is important. It's an important part of that. And that's why many times people will say, well, I've tried that and it failed. It's because there's not a logical weaving together of the component parts.
That's huge. And you bring up accountability. I mean, when you have kids, it's certainly, the accountability piece is even stronger, but being accountable to ourselves when no one is watching, when we can, when we shouldn't.
It's because we are always watching ourselves,
and even though no one is watching and we know we have the candy bar over here or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
It's those moments where, we struggle, and to be able to have a tool in those moments, I think really important.
Yes. Yes. But, to the 18:3 ratio that we were talking about, I was definitely, although I was the mom who was driving to get the organic food, I was also the mom who was hiding in my kitchen hallway eating chocolate cake with coffee for breakfast while my toddlers had something different. Yeah. So, it's about...
That sounds good, by the way.
There were some mornings I really will argue still today that was self-care for me, that type of indulgence. Right. And I think that's a piece of this too. It's not, it's not another way to be rigid and inflexible with ourselves. It's about really having a good, healthy relationship with all parts of ourselves.
Well, and that's what gets us in trouble with diets when you think about it. The being too rigid and all or nothing, and not really knowing the relationship that food has with your body.
Absolutely. And so, there's a place for chocolate cake.
Yeah.
There's always a place for chocolate cake. That's going to be my new tagline. There's always a place for chocolate cake and a self-care plan.
Self-care is chocolate cake.
Yes, sometimes it can be.
You're right, though. There is always a place for chocolate cake for some people. And
There is. Whatever your chocolate cake is.
Yeah.
It just, it's just about, okay, am I going to have chocolate cake for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week? That's not going to work out so well for me.
It's the all or nothing. It's it's learning the ratio and having someone to help guide you through learning that ratio.
And understanding what your thinking is and what the beliefs are that underpin the behavior. That's what's really key about an integrative mental health approach. You really need those components to become aware of your relationship with food and develop a healthy relationship with food.
Alison Sullivan and Associates Integrative Mental Health Team is located in beautiful, historic downtown Fredericksburg, Virginia, and at Alison'sIntegrativeHealth.org. New and exciting workshops are available to you that will give you personal attention to meet your needs right where you are on your journey. Sign up for our newsletter to be the first to know when registration opens for workshops like Aromatherapy 101. Here's how you can discover to use aromatherapy to support your health. Did you know that a blend of frankincense, peppermint, and lemongrass supports wisdom, optimism, and it will help you release unhealthy attachments? This is where you can learn how to support your mental, emotional, and physical health with the essential oils workshops available to you monthly for no charge. Come meet the team. Schedule your session today for psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, yoga, and massage, and begin restoring yourself in mind, body, and spirit. If you'd like to call, the number is 540-907-0991 and online at Alison'sIntegrativeHealth.org. As Alison always says, self-care will save your life. Let go and lean in.